My channel is sponsored by Raycon, which means we will hear more from them somewhere in the middle of today's video. I try to make all of the videos on this channel fit the same format in that they're all scripted. It usually takes me several weeks to do all the research that goes into the video essays that I end up putting on here. One video took me a whole month, but occasionally I feel the need to break the mold, to get something done quickly in order to try, in every case, to help an independent game developer. So today's video is not scripted. Excuse the fact that I am largely reading from articles to try to get this done as quickly as possible. And also note that I normally would not include a sponsor in a video like this, but because it was supposed to be a whole separate video that went up today and I pivoted to make sure I could get this up, the sponsor has to go in this video. But I will be using some of the revenue from this video specifically to help this studio. I will have to figure out how I'm going to do that, whether it's donating to them directly or buying a whole bunch of keys. I will be doing that. So you may have heard about this. It is making the rounds, and I wanted to talk about it because not only do I have a lot of sympathy for the dev studio for what they've had to go through here, I also just think what it says about the state of games that are actually trying to say something sucks, and that these rules probably should change, while at the same time I also understand how what has happened. Let's get to it. So this is a post on a website called horses.wtf. It is from independent game studios Santa Ragione, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who have made a series of independent games, and their latest game, Horses, has been banned from Steam. This is a game they spent over $100,000 making, and several years making, and they have tried to appeal this, but the game is not allowed on Steam. So let's talk about it. The post says, back in June 2023, just days prior to our scheduled announcement, we were informed that Horses will not ship on Steam. We were not given specific details about the content in question. For 2 years, we asked for clarifications and a path to compliance, but we were directed to Steam's general guidelines and our requests for review and appeal were denied over and over. This ban has nothing to do with the recent restriction on adult content pushed by payment processors, though I don't doubt it is impacted by that. This decision was solely in the hands of Steam's curatorial team. Please consult our extensive FAQ below for more detail. What is presented by this game is no different to what exists in a lot of different sci-fi series. It would not be unusual to read a book that has the exact offending thing in it. Like if a book like Brave New World is allowed to exist, and it is, and it should, as specific political commentary, it's very odd to me that anyone would argue against Horses also being allowed to exist. Again, okay, I'll shut up, we'll get to it. So they say, our position, we are committed to producing challenging adult storytelling. Horses uses grotesque, subversive imagery to confront power, faith, and violence. And I was given a key to the game so that I could check it out before making this video, and it does do exactly this thing. It says, we reject subjective obscenity standards and believe this kind of moralizing censorship evokes a darker past in which vague notions of decency were used to silence artists. Again, completely agree with them on that too. Steam publicly downplays human curation in favor of algorithmic sales optimization, yet intervenes with censorship when a game's artistic vision does not align with what the platform owners consider acceptable art. This is so well written. Like, they've killed this paragraph. Why was Horses banned from Steam? This is the part that is important. They go on to say that they weren't told, that Steam's reason to deny the game was vague and broad, and they weren't really given an opportunity to fix it. But to talk about this adequately or accurately, I feel like I have to explain the reason that the game was originally banned. And again, I understand this, but it's not the core of the issue. Before I got my hands on a pair of these, I had been so interested to try them, and they are genuinely so cool. These are Raycon's bone conduction headphones. Yes, that's the actual title, and yes, that's what they actually do. They use off-ear audio, sending sound through vibrations in your bones. It means your ears are not, plugged up by headphones, but you still get crystal clear music, podcasts, or calls. It's also just, again, really cool. They've helped me personally in a pretty specific, but very helpful way. I have 2 piercings here on my left ear. They are 12 months old, and I was having issues using in-ear earbuds because sometimes they would irritate this piercing, but then the over-the-ear ones irritate this piercing, and they both end up red and sore. The Raycon bone conduction headphones have been the only solution that I have found, and I have been looking. They're also really practical, 13 hours of battery life, fully IP68 waterproof and dustproof. Mine have survived the recent unprecedented rains LA has been dealing with. And the best part, their quality rivals the big audio brands, but at half of the cost. So if you want to support my channel and get a good deal, Black Friday is right around the corner, and Raycon audio products are up to 30% off statewide. From everyday essentials to the latest releases, it's a perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. These early deals won't last long, so shop now before they're gone. Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/charalanaZardBC to get up to 30% off during Raycon's Black Friday sale. Horses is a game that is inherently political and commentary, again, not in a way that feels tremendously different to any 100 sci-fi books that I have read. The concept is that there are some people who are used as horses. These people are naked and on a leash, and other humans in this society can choose to ride them as horses, like on their shoulders, riding them around. It is basically, in many ways, I'll let you play it, and please do, I'll leave links to where you can check out this game, because it is making a really specific statement that I really hope this doesn't try to make people shy away from trying to make. Not that they need to make this exact statement, but like, I don't know, it just sucks that it feels a lot like there are certain topics in video games that are taboo or not allowed or frowned upon when other mediums get to do them. So, horses. Game very much about power dynamics. It is confrontational art. It is intended to be gross, not sexual in any nature. It's intended to feel exploitative. That is sort of the purpose of this art. And to remove that would be to remove the entire point of making it in the first place. And again, I really hope that people keep making these kinds of things. Like, how are we supposed to take video games seriously if we're not willing to comment on anything, you know? But it also seems like very obvious to me. They touch on it here and they say, we don't know why Horses was banned from Steam because Steam's policy grants board discretion to refuse titles without providing detailed explanations. And they simply stated they could not legally distribute Horses without clarifying why. They asked for an official explanation and were just given a basic onboarding document that is extremely vague and says things like content that is patently offensive or intended to shock or disgust viewers, which seems insane. I would understand certain levels of that, but also, again, I think that sometimes art is intended to be shocking or disgusting in order to make a point. But here is the thing that comes up and is relevant, and I think is almost definitely why the game got the ban and is what makes this slightly more complicated. So they say, we think the ban may have been triggered during the initial Steam submission by an incomplete scene on day 6 in which a man and his young daughter visit the farm. The daughter wants to ride one of the horses. The in-game horses are humans wearing a horse mask, and gets to pick which one. What followed was an interactive dialogue sequence where the player is leading by a lead as if they were a horse a naked adult woman with a young girl on her shoulders. The scene is not sexual in any way, and again, having been given access to the game, I 100% believe that, but it is possible that that juxtaposition is what triggered the flag. I 100% think that that is what triggered the flag, is the fact that they had a young girl on the shoulders of a grown naked woman. No, it is not sexual. Yes, it is deeply disturbing. I get why that would flag something in a system. However, we have since changed the character in the scene to be a 20-something woman, both to avoid the juxtaposition and more importantly because the dialogue delivered in that scene, which deals with the societal structure in the world of horses, works much better when delivered by an older character. So the content was changed. They changed it of their own accord and were given no comment from Steam about reinstating the game. And relating to this answer, the game was also not removed on other platforms. They say they believe it complies with all legal regulations for digital distribution in the vast majority of countries, including in the US and the EU. The ban appears to be a policy decision, not a legal one, and we were never given a clear explanation of what specific content could be considered legally prohibited. This I've kind of already explained and completely agree with them. No, the game is not pornographic. While it does contain some sexual elements, the intent is never to arouse. Again, very strongly agree with this. It uses challenging, unconventional material to encourage discussion, and I definitely think that they achieved that point. It invites players to examine why something feels the way it does, what it says about the characters and systems at work, and where their limits lie. Is it about tension, not erotic content? Again, completely agree. And I don't doubt that there are many people who would not like the content in Horses. It is disturbing. It is intentionally trying to make a point. Many people would not like Brave New World. But my thesis remains, if you would like to support this studio, even if you don't have interest in this particular game, it is a studio that is making things that are extremely unique, that are challenging in ways that a lot of video games are far too shy to be challenging. And they have been put at such an insane disadvantage for doing that, for making a political piece of interactive art that is designed to be played by adults, that is designed for adult, mature consumption. And it's just, I feel like the people who are refuting this, like I've seen some comments, of people saying like, well, nothing of value was lost. Again, even if you weren't going to play this game, the value is not in your personal player experience. It's about the fact that somebody is making something different. Like, I really don't feel like you can say, man, I'm so sick of all of these microtransaction riddled games as service, live service games while also being like, nothing of value was lost the minute that somebody takes something that is enough of a creative risk, again, without being sexually exploitative. It genuinely is not. That content is not in this game. Like, my point is, first is, if this is something that you would like to support, not even just the game, which again is genuinely interesting, but a very distinctive creative vision that is intended to be challenging and mature and for adults, and is, I feel like, few and far between in the games industry, and that we deserve more content that is like this. But I will leave a link to where you can check out the game. Please check it out and support the studio, again, if that's something that you're interested in. But the second half is just a plea for, like, I'm just trying to get through to the people who are shitting on this, to be like, do you not get it though? Because, like, if we look at this post on our Steam, obviously a lot of people here are defenders of Steam. These comments are almost entirely just basically saying that this is, like I said, nothing of value was lost. Like, Valve is intelligent, not taking the risk on some weird shit. Maybe they are being intelligent for not taking the risk on some weird shit, but is that how we want to be talking about art or sci-fi? There are many books and TV shows and films that have taken the risk on some weird shit. Why is it only video games where I feel like the audience is like, good guy Valve, great idea. You know what I mean? This is also a great point, though. The Steam store has the creation and approval of Sex with Hitler 1, 2, and 3. But you can't have a game that features any kind of political commentary or challenge. Like, it feels weird to call it political commentary. It is just trying to be challenging. I feel like we deserve that as humans. For extra context here, the studio also had a conversation with gamesindustry.biz. I think I'm also inclined to agree with this particular quote that says, in my opinion, Valve simply wasn't used to or familiar with a game like ours, so they picked a reason for ineligibility as an excuse to avoid any perceived potential trouble. And like I was saying earlier, they also mention here that it's regarding kinds of topics you can address in a video game, even extreme ones, in a way that film and cinema already does. Games Industry Biz also asked them, when asked whether a similar situation tied to Steam's opaque policies might have happened somewhere down the road, if not with horses, then with a more daring project. Riva agrees it's likely. It's possible. I think one thing we've been doing as a studio is trying to push the boundaries of what video games can be, and that means pushing on the visual tools that represent games, mechanics, and content. Eventually, if you are trying to encourage with topics about the human condition, you'll end up talking about violence, power dynamics, and some of the sensitive things that are represented in horses. And again, this is the part that I am sort of saying is a slippery slope. But it says, if there's a possible silver lining in this situation, he adds, it would be the potential for any outcry around the ban prompting Valve taking a more open approach to tackling individual cases and offering clearer rules on the acceptable content. This would be a huge step forward. And I strongly agree with that too, that people talking about this, which they are, obviously, I'm really here to try to do my part in getting coverage to this story, both to support the studio and to try to highlight this particular thing, that at the very least, if there is content that is, again, it's not sexual. Horses is not sexual. It is, it just feels like even almost vanilla sci-fi. Like, if it were a book or a TV show, you wouldn't be batting an eyelid at it. It really is, definitely takes advantage of the medium of video games to confront the power dynamic, which again is why, like, it sucks so bad that video games are so pearl clutchy about this stuff. But Valve should be called out. This is fucking censorship. It sucks. Steam should be called out. This is censorship and it sucks. But yeah, part of it is that talking about it to the scale that people are, which again, if I'm the first person to bring this to you, you can also find coverage of it on most of the major games media websites. The point is that there should be more clarification for people who work in the games industry. It should be easier to appeal something and to get more transparency so that we can have people make games that are challenging and are unique and cover topics that game devs might otherwise be afraid of, which really sucks because there are a lot of other mediums that it doesn't happen in. If the film industry can have and publish something like a Serbian film, which is like quite popular, and we can't even have something that's akin to horses, I feel like it really sells creatives in video games short. And it's like, well, if you're a creative, why would you even bother working in the game space? If you have challenging ideas or you want to make anything that's vaguely confronting, just do it in a different industry and you'll be okay, because apparently the games industry does not support people taking these kinds of risks. We do need to challenge Steam and ask Steam to have more specific stances on games that try to push boundaries in an artistic way. And I think especially now, while, as said, I already have a video about it up on my channel, there are people lobbying to have Steam removed because they don't like video games and they are approaching credit card holders and PayPal and basically any money processing companies that they can find to get video games taken down. It's just wild for me to see so many people be on Steam's side. This is just, yeah, I think we're really limiting ourselves by bootlicking Valve here. The game has a bunch of really great previews. It was a finalist at Indiecade and AMAs, selected for Day of the Devs in Los Angeles 2023 and San Francisco 2024, showcased at South by Southwest Sydney, and exhibited at the SF MoMA during GDC 2024. This is not some porn game, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's very hard to advocate for any kind of vote with your wallet in an instance like this because, of course, these games were never going to be massively popular. I'm sure that they knew that when they made it, that it was not going to be, you know, top 10 best-selling games of the year. And I would argue that that's actually all the more reason that we should advocate for it to exist. Like, what a blessing to have anyone who is willing to make something that they are making for the artistic purpose and not for the money that you could chase if you made a friend slop game. You know what I mean? This is, like, honestly the easiest film pitch of all time. This would be so much easier to get made and to get money for if you made it as a short film or a feature film. And it's nothing about that is even unusual for indie filmmaking. Why does it have to be unusual for indie game making? It's just, I don't know, man. My point is, I think that I just want better for the games industry. I don't want anyone who feels the need to make things that are not, you know, cookie cutter, easy content to try to make money, which the industry is full of. I have another video about how insanely exploitative the indie industry can be regarding that. I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well. But yeah, basically, if someone has ideas like this, we are just chasing them to other mediums. We are just chasing them to go and express these ideas in more traditional mediums, and I think it sucks for everybody. So, thank you for watching. I will leave a link in the description to where you can check out more about the game if you would like to. Otherwise, I would just encourage you to share this or talk about this news, and I guess like consider what you want from video games, you know? If you want the same stuff that everyone's making and you know, you want to hear people complain about video game writing being boring or bad again for the next 10 years, you can also do that. I just want better for the medium that I love so much, that I think has a very unique strength where storytelling is concerned, in that the empathy afforded by the virtue of the medium being interactive is tremendous and really has an ability to shape your worldview. Now, if I can read this shit in a book, I just can't see why I can't play it in a goddamn video game, okay? We just stop with the goddamn censorship. Why does everything have to be so fucking boring?